suggestion which the pediatricians of the young infant and young child feeding chapter have put forward is that if you delay introduction of animal milk directly till 1 year of age, but animal milk containing complementary foods like ghee, cheese and other food items can be introduced even after 6 months. But the direct introduction of animal milk, it's better if it's done after 1 year of age.
Sure.
And breastfeeding should be continued beyond 2 years of age. Coming to the pregnant woman. Now, there is a program we have already had in place, the anemia program, but we have to look at 4 different aspects here. One is the strategy itself, which has been implemented for several years. The implementation, whether there are any gaps, supervision of that implementation, and recently there's been a lot of interest generated in can there be any ways by which we can improve absorption of nutrients from the gut, any scientific advances in this direction. And there's the concept of a life cycle approach from womb to tomb, starting right from when the infant is born, right through to the elderly stage.
I think, Dr. Gopalan, thank you for explaining that. So we understand, from breastfeeding and what you've explained about the womb to tomb, the first 1,000 days are extremely critical. Moving ahead, Dr. Tandon, in fact, we do know like India also faces this dual burden where, one hand, malnutrition is a huge challenge, and on the other, there's a heavy incidence of overnutrition and obesity. But often people suffering from obesity also have nutritional deficiencies. Could you explain that to us? How can proper nutrition effectively address this as well?
So actually malnutrition really covers the entire spectrum of both over and undernutrition. Now, when you're obese, you may actually end up with additional problems where, certain vitamins which can get stored in the fat may get primarily located out there and therefore not enough available in the circulating fluid. Obviously, the presence of a range of fats which are not desirable. You need fats. I think that we should disabuse people of the notion that you don't need fats.
Yes.
But you need fats of a certain amount of a certain type. Once you either take the wrong sorts of fat or an excessive amount of fat, it contributes significantly to, formation of plaque in the coronary arteries, formation and affecting by deposition of fat in different body organs, also impeding your ability to metabolize and therefore contribute to elevation in sugars, elevated circulating blood lipids, and all of these then eventually contribute to a negative overall cardiometabolic risk.
No, thank you. I think what you said about habits and being mindful is extremely critical here, and right fats, I think that's another very important thing because sometimes we go on to extremes. Dr. Gupta, talking of obesity and diabetes, the rising burden of NCDs in our country has become a public health crisis. How many of the NCDs are linked to poor nourishment? What dietary changes would you recommend to reduce the risk of cardiovascular conditions in the Indian population?
So, Ambika, I think, first of all, let me congratulate you when you are talking about such an important thing, which is portion, like nutrition. It is the essence of all of us, right? The food that we eat. Obesity is becoming a major problem. And I, as a cardiologist, see diseases and heart attacks and other problems related to obesity every single day. India is becoming the heart disease capital of the world. It is getting the diabetes capital of the world, and they're all linked to nutrition. Most of the lifestyle illnesses, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, some malignancies, they're all linked to food and nutrition. The high salt intake that we have. Indians, we love our salts, whether it's in papad, whether it is in achar, whether it is in all the chutneys we eat. They are all very high salt containing things. They increase the risk of hypertension. We love our sugars. You go anywhere, the festival season is coming up, everybody's going to be having mithai, they're going to be halwa, and there are going to be all these nice desserts. It increases the risk of diabetes.
Yes.
And it is not just these sugars, Ambika. It is not just these sugars, it is the hidden sugars. So there is a direct correlation with the food we eat, with the lifestyle diseases that we then inculcate. And they in turn translate into heart attacks and make us, the heart disease capital of the world.
So I think a very important point, the food we eat is directly related to NCDs, and that's why, we see the number of cases increasing so much. So next time when somebody asks us, meethe mein kya hai, we all need to be mindful and not just think of the sweet, but also the hidden fats which you've spoken about. Moving ahead, Dr. Joshipura, we understand that nutrition is of critical importance to our overall health and performance, but how do we get that nourishment in an evolving idea? Nutrition science is working to meet constantly changing global health needs. How do pharmaceutical companies like Cadila respond to that changing need?
I think if you look at the overall landscape, especially national landscape where you have titled this session on India Health Mission, so you already touched upon the two burdens that are overlapping. The other element of the nutrition is basically deficiency of vitamins, minerals and trace elements. That is also getting emerging as one of the important area in overall nutritional landscape to address. As our country is progressing, we are seeing demands and requirements for such nutritional supplements as well by the medical experts and the patient as well. So I want to talk about the minerals that are important in nutrition as such, and iron is a well-known example. I think everybody knows that India suffered from iron deficiency, anemia for a long time, and even today, in pregnant women, in children, and in adolescents also, anemia is a critical problem. So clearly, iron deficiency is one of the things that can be tackled. The other elements, of course, is iodine, which is being tackled with fortification of several foods. Salt is a classic example. Iodized salt is an example. And then iron, we talked about. Calcium is an important mineral that is being supplemented, and there is a requirement for calcium supplement. And of course, magnesium and zinc are important minerals. So these are the minerals. And then vitamin deficiency is also known, and as we know, vitamin A is required for vision, immune function, skin health, vitamin C for immune system, skin health, and so on. Vitamin D, we know, bone health, and so on. Vitamin E, K, and multitude of vitamins, complexes, right?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Moving on, Dr. Gupta, we're talking about nutrition science. Dr. Joshipura was talking about it, responding to the changing health needs. Now, our bodies are under more stress from the environment than ever before. How is nutrition helping our bodies cope? The heart and the immune system, for example, are very closely linked. And again, the heart attacks are going up, cardiac arrest. We hear a lot more. How is this really linked to immunity and obviously nutrition?
So I think nutrition plays a pivotal role in almost 80 to 90% of the illnesses that we have, I would say, non-communicable diseases. So, if you look at the Indian plate, the food that we eat, majority of the food in India is very high in carbohydrates. We are a very carb-heavy country. We don't have much in terms of the fiber and the green leafy vegetables. People think of potatoes as a vegetable, but potato is more of starch. It's more of carbohydrates. It's not giving you the green leafy, the fiber that you need. And that's a very staple food, not only in India, it's across the world, in fact. So, the type of food you eat, the quality of the food you eat plays a very, very important and pivotal role. And there's also data to show that if you are having a good, nutritious meal, you may not need supplements. Your micronutrient deficiency is going to be taken care of. A lot of your overall health is going to be taken care of. So the quality of the food is equally important for just good general health.
Yeah, so it's not just about eating. I think it's about what you're eating. I think that's the very important point. Dr. Tandon, while Dr. Gupta did tell us a little bit about the food aspect, I want to ask you specifically for our viewers, what is a healthy diet and what do you mean by a balanced diet? Just adding to what Dr. Gupta said.
So I look at diet, very simplistically as sort of four components, right? Quantity, quality, timing, or the individual portion size, and the spacing, right? So obviously if you eat too much, it's not good for you. Same as if you eat too little, it's not good for you. So quantity is what your caloric requirement is based on your height, based on your current weight, based on what your physical activity levels are. The second part is the quality, and I think Dr. Gupta highlighted that. We are traditionally a very carb-rich nation, which is unfortunate. I mean, there's Many of the diets go up to 65, 70% of carbs,
Yes.
whereas you possibly need to get by with nearer 55 or something in that sort of range, realizing that you still have 45% to make up with, and you have a judicious combination of protein and fats for that. It has to be there, but it has to be a judicious balance. The third thing is, how do you space your meals out, right? And how do you sort of divide? 2 large meals in a day perhaps is not a great idea, because you're actually dumping a lot of calories into your system at one point in time. And therefore, dividing them allows much less of what we call glycemic swings or sugars going up and down. And then, of course, the spacing. You can say, well, I eat 5 meals a day, but I cluster them all together between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Again, not a good idea, because you're actually getting everything very close to each other. Spacing them out reasonably. So I think these are practical suggestions which would be of utility for a common person.
Practical and absolutely, I think, very, very doable. Sometimes, very often we tell our children, oh, how many rotis did you eat? We're not focusing on how much dal or the vegetable they've had, but we're looking at, okay, you've had 3 rotis or 4 rotis, you're good. So I think it's not just practical, very informative. Thank you for that. Moving on, Dr. Gopalan, what is the nutrition gap? How does it affect, and how do we deal with, or how can we deal with it?
You see, the most important thing is we have had our leading bodies in the country which have come up with nutritive value of foods. And now, most recently, an important step forward has been the practical dietary guidelines are now available and they are being rolled out. And these guidelines address various age groups, and they are also looking at showing practical pictorial depictions of recipes for different age groups. But what we need to consider as practicing clinicians also is how effectively we can roll out these guidelines to the community, and what are the practical challenges we are likely to face depending on the age group we are addressing. So we must distinguish that these guidelines are for the healthy population. When it comes to a particular individual where there's a major nutrition gap, be it a child or an adult, then our clinical judgment takes precedence, and we need to tailor the nutritional approach for that particular individual.
Sure.
This is something we need to do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Really well explained. Thank you all for that. More on the nutrition gap and how we can address it when we come back. So do stay tuned with us on NDTV.
अगर फूड प्राइसेस ज़्यादा है, हम सिर्फ जिसको कहते हैं कि कोर इन्फ्लेशन कम हो गया, ठीक है, इन्फ्लेशन कम हो गया, अगर वो कहेंगे वो क्रेडिबल नहीं रहेगा। फिलहाल हमको ये कॉन्फिडेंस है कि इन्फ्लेशन कम हो रहा है और 4% के आसपास पहुंच जाना चाहिए, लेकिन इस साल का एवरेज हमने 4.5% लिया है। यंग इंडियंस आर एस्पिरेशनल, और इसमें कोई गलत चीज़ नहीं है। जब एक कंट्री प्रोग्रेस करता है, जब एजुकेशन लेवल, टेक्नोलॉजी आगे जाता है, तो नेचुरली यंगर पॉपुलेशन जो है they get attracted to other markets. Youngsters are going into stock markets. If youngsters are buying insurance products, if they are buying, investing through mutual funds, it's a good thing. It should happen. Credit growth and credit disbursement has become very fast thanks to technology. लेकिन deposit mobilization जो है आज भी वो physical है. टेक्नोलॉजी जितना बढ़ता जा रहा है, attempts to hack into systems, attempts to do साइबर फ्रॉड्स, दे आर ऑल ग्रोइंग। इसमें हमने बहुत अवेयरनेस क्रिएट किया। हमने अवेयरनेस थ्रू एडवर्टाइजमेंट्स, थ्रू टेलीविज़न, सारे मीडिया जो चैनल है उसमें हमने बहुत एडवर्टाइज किया, लोगों में कॉन्शियसनेस क्रिएट किया।
The ability to see patterns, important through this whole sort of mosaic of scattered data points. I was watching Dhoni and I'm conversing with him. The ball, there's a television there, the camera, someone's bowling. He would see the ball and he'd say, "Ye 4 hone wala, 6, out. I visited the bathroom of every company I visited.
You famously mentioned that, yes. Kung Fu.
Peace, evolution, enlightenment.
Brijmohan Lal Munjal.
Legend.
Madhav Dhar.
Visionary, high energy, great leader of people.
Your favorite city in the whole world.
Mumbai,
Really, your ultimate comfort food.
I'd say a dosa.
There's unbelievable talent in this country. The storytellers of Indian fashion since 1987. The wedding has become a much bigger thing thanks to Karan Johar. It's not a store, it's a story.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
Welcome back. You're watching India Health Mission, and today we're talking about the critical role nutrition plays for our health. Talking about solutions now, let's move ahead. Dr. Gopalan, how do you assess the impact of Poshan Abhiyan on improving nutritional outcomes in India, and what key areas should be focused on during Poshan Maah, especially since we're in it, to further strengthen its effectiveness?
We have to adopt the practical approach. As the dietary guidelines have now been formulated and are being rolled out, which I mentioned, how do you practically convey the important nutritional scientific messages when it applies to the community? It is important that they understand quantities, types of food and portions rather than how much of a particular nutrient needs to be consumed. It is a team approach which is important for an effective rollout of the guidelines which have recently been formulated, and the Poshan Abhiyan. This is one of the important components of the Poshan Abhiyan, where we address the practical issues which are the important points to consider when it comes to delivery of nutrition at the community level.
Absolutely. So I think it's about working critical. It's important to work together. All stakeholders need to work together. Dr. Tandon, talking about, since we are talking about Poshan Abhiyan, what are your suggestions? How can we make high quality nutrients affordable and accessible to all through India's public health system?
I don't think we should medicalize nutrition, right? I think that's the first thing. Saying make it through the public health system implies that we are medicalizing an issue, which is clearly a social issue. So I would look at it from a much broader perspective than to restrict it as a public health system. In fact, I would even stick my neck out so far as to go that giving only cereals at a low cost may actually be counterproductive, because again, the cereals are providing primarily a carbohydrate-rich source.
Yeah.
So I think the whole concept of what should be provided through at lower rates through a public distribution system should not just be restricted to a cereal-based diet. It should be looking at a wide range of food items which provide a broad nutrient delivery to the population at large, and that's the way I look at it.
Okay, great point taken. Dr. Joshipura, what is the role, since we're talking about solutions that pharmaceutical manufacturers like Cadila can play in making nutrients accessible to a wider population and in bridging the nutritional gaps in the Indian population?
Right. So as we heard, no external supplement can be better than the balanced diet, balanced nutrition diet, right? Having said that, it remains a wishful thinking that everyone would take a balanced diet and everyone would benefit from the guidelines and so on and so forth. So therefore, for example, in a tropical country like India, which is full of 300 days of sunlight a year in most part of the country, why should anybody be vitamin D deficient, right? But the fact of the matter is that vitamin D deficiency is very common, and there's a new emerging science coming out after vitamin D. For example, vitamin D earlier was known only for bone health.
Yeah.
Now there is a strong scientific evidence to suggest that, for example, cardiovascular health can be better, blood pressure regulation can be better, endothelial health can be better, outcomes of patients with cardiovascular conditions would be better if they have vitamin D restored to normal level. There is an evidence in diabetes management that diabetic patient will have a better beta cell function, they will have a better insulin support if their vitamin D levels are restored. Similarly, mental health, respiratory health, pregnancy and lactation. So there are new indications and new scientific evidences emerges where role of elements and vitamin D supplements, in this case, would require an external support. So therefore, the industry would need to come out and be ready with this newer, to meet the newer requirements and newer evidences, and therefore making it accessible and affordable.
Absolutely. I think that's why everybody needs to work together like we were talking. Dr. Gupta, the last question here is nutrition education. Now, how can doctors across specialities come together to create greater awareness around the role that nutrition plays in keeping India healthy like we've been discussing today?
So I think this is a very important question as to how do we become a healthy nation. I know we're all talking about a $5 trillion economy and an $8 trillion economy, but a healthy nation is of paramount importance for it to be a wealthy nation. So, and when you talk about health, clean water and good food are the backbone of a healthy nation. So I think the impetus for improvement has to come not just from doctors, not just from the medical community, but from society in general, like was mentioned by one of the other speakers as well. Education becomes of paramount importance. It has to start at the school level, where the cafeteria in the school, the type of food that they are serving. Are they giving more nutritious? Are they giving more chips and more sodas and more fruit canned juices, or are they giving other kind of more healthy options?
Yeah, absolutely important. On that note, thank you so much, doctors, for joining us today in this very critical conversation. So by raising awareness and promoting healthier and mindful eating habits, we can build a healthier nation. For India to achieve sustainable growth and development, ensuring access to nutritious food across all socio-economic strata is vital, as it leads to a healthier, more resilient workforce and reduces the healthcare burden. Do stay tuned for more on India Health Mission as we bring to you these critical conversations through the series. Thank you so much for watching.
अगर फूड प्राइसेस ज़्यादा है, हम सिर्फ जिसको कहते हैं कि कोर इन्फ्लेशन कम हो गया, ठीक है, इन्फ्लेशन कम हो गया, अगर वो कहेंगे वो क्रेडिबल नहीं रहेगा। फिलहाल हमको ये कॉन्फिडेंस है कि इन्फ्लेशन कम हो रहा है और 4% के आसपास पहुंच जाना चाहिए, लेकिन इस साल का एवरेज हमने 4.5% दिया है। यंग इंडियंस आर एस्पिरेशनल, और इसमें कोई गलत चीज़ नहीं है। जब एक कंट्री प्रोग्रेस करता है, जब एजुकेशन लेवल, टेक्नोलॉजी आगे जाता है, तो नेचुरली यंगर पॉपुलेशन जो है they get attracted to other markets. Youngsters are going into stock markets. If youngsters are buying insurance products, if they are buying, investing through mutual funds, it's a good thing. It should happen. Credit growth and credit disbursement has become very fast thanks to technology. लेकिन deposit mobilization जो है आज भी वो physical है. टेक्नोलॉजी जितना बढ़ता जा रहा है, attempts to hack into systems, attempts to do साइबर फ्रॉड्स, दे आर ऑल ग्रोइंग। इसमें हमने बहुत अवेयरनेस क्रिएट किया। हमने अवेयरनेस थ्रू एडवर्टाइजमेंट्स, थ्रू टेलीविज़न, सारे मीडिया जो चैनल है उसमें हमने बहुत एडवर्टाइज किया, लोगों में कॉन्शियसनेस क्रिएट किया।
The ability to see patterns, important through this whole sort of mosaic of scattered data points. I was watching Dhoni and I'm conversing with him. The ball, there's a television there, the camera, someone's bowling. He would see the ball and he'd say, "Ye 4 hone wala, 6, out, out, out." I visited the bathroom of every company I visited.
You famously mentioned that, yes. Kung Fu.
Peace, evolution, enlightenment.
Brijmohan Lal Munjal.
Legend.
Madhavdhar.
Visionary, high energy, great leader of people.
Your favorite city in the whole world.
Mumbai.
Really? Your ultimate comfort food.
I'd say a dosa.
There's unbelievable talent in this country. the storytellers of Indian fashion since 1987. The wedding has become a much bigger thing thanks to Karan Johar. It's not a store, it's a story.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
Welcome to Voice What presents the great business story transforming India in association with NDTV Profit. When it comes to modern homes and modernized living, these are the two things that are offered by Total Environment. This is an organization that has provided these kind of homes to over 1,200 customers across Bengaluru, Hyderabad and Pune. The love for design, the pursuit for craftsmanship. These are the two things that set them apart in Total. We have with us Kamal Sagar as well as Shibani Sagar, both of them founders of Total Environment. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm told that both of you are architects, and the moment I entered this space and every nook and corner was spelling your love for nature as well as design. And I'm sure that is reflected in all projects of yours. And the reason why I'm specifying this is I want to know the journey of Total Environment ever since its inception in 1996. So if you could track its growth, its success story for the last 28 years.
Thank you. So we started off with in a very small way, and initially it was just frustration with the construction quality and with the way housing is being built in the city that sparked that desire to do something about it. We did a small building in the beginning, which was 12 apartments. Sold the first few to a few friends. After that, it was, we went around giving presentations to tech companies, and we managed to sign up with two groups, one from Microland, about 16 people, and 12 from Saskin, another project, Bougainvillea for Saskin, and green is the color for the Microland guys. And so it started with that. We built for them as a group. We understood what they wanted, designed, and then built those apartments. And sitting with families and designing their interiors. We moved on from building for a group of employees of a company to our very first project, where again just 16 units, but where we gave an ad for the first time, and somebody called in, and then we showed them what we are doing, and then we sold to them. 1996 all the way till about 2005-06. Around that time we acquired the land for one of our largest projects at that time, Windmills of Your Mind, which we launched then in 2008. So the first time here we had 24 acres and we could design more with more freedom. Different learnings at different stages, from people related things to construction, to even like sales and marketing. And as we went along, we kept learning on how to become better at each of those, and slowly from there to now, where we have several such large projects. So that's where we are right now. It's exciting.
So when it comes to Kamal and Shibani architects, how crucial has that role been in terms of aligning with the journey of Total Environment?
I think it was more like frustrated architects. I mean, that's where the journey began. So definitely it had something to do with design there. And we want your design to actually be executed really well, right? Having that terraced garden made a difference. Having that connect with nature made a huge difference, because then you know that even when you're indoors, you have that connect with, you have that earth connect, And that is, say, like when we first started and we had this set of employees from whether it was Sasken or Microland, we actually custom did their homes, which also means that, you know, we got this opportunity to talk to them about their requirements, so we could design for them. And I can tell you today that those people are perhaps our closest friends.
I mean, design apart, what really drives or inspires Total Environment? Are there, I mean, you already mentioned there are other factors. What are those factors?
I think just this aspiration to be really good. It's a never-ending, unachievable goal at some level. So I think that's what drives us every single day to become better. The real energy comes from there. You know, how do we? You can see where you are and all the gaps and all the things you need to do. So the energy is just to fix that and get better and better. I think that's what drives it. And I think what helps a lot is the love that we get from customers, and we hear stories from them, or or they send us an email, or they. You walk, sometimes, I walk into a project and into a project that's already completed, and people get to know that I'm there, and I get messages saying, Kamal, I saw you, will you come home for a chai? So things like that, that warmth that you get, I think those are the things that help you feel that you're doing the right thing, and it kind of just affirms what you're doing.
Can you throw light on the different kinds or types of projects as well as products that you offer at Total Environment?
We have different types of products. We have duplex